So number one, it says find a pair of each type of segments. And the first one you have up here is skewed, although normally you just see it as skew lines. This is in your spiral. It's one of the first pages where we took notes on points, lines, and planes. Skew lines do not intersect. They're not perpendicular. They're not parallel. They kind of have nothing to do with each other. So the truth is, if I'm just asking you to find a pair, there's many answers you could give me here. But to give you a couple examples of what that might be like, it could be like WZ and YS. Are WZ and YS ever going to intersect each other? Are they parallel to each other? Are they perpendicular? Are they going to intersect? No, none of those things. So that's one example of skew. And here we go with I can't write on here. That's supposed to be a Y. Right? But I mean, there's many examples. You just need to find a pair of lines where one's going one direction, one's going another. Okay, so there's many different possibilities. That's one pair. All right, I'll highlight a couple other just to get the idea. You know, you could also do QT and XR in the back. Right, this is a rectangular prism. It's like a box. So really, you know, in any kind of box figure, if you have one line or segment here and then the bottom one going back, anything like that would fit under that idea. Perpendicular lines. Perpendiculars intersect at 90 degrees. Again, several examples all over this box, this rectangular prism. Right, a simple one could be XW and WZ. One example. Plenty others on here. As long as they intersect at 90 degrees, right? Really, at any of the points on there, you have two segments that are going to meet perpendicularly. I'm just giving you one example. Parallel. Two lines that are not going to intersect, but they have the same slope, if you will. Maybe YZ and XW. Again, both of these, all of these are just one possible example. There's many examples here. As long as you understand what each of those terms mean, that's what's most important and what they would look like. We good on that one? Number two, in the diagram below, 2 is congruent to 4. What angles are supplementary? So first of all, you know that 2 is congruent to 4. They want to know what angles then should add up to 180. Well, at each intersection, because like 1 and 2 are congruent, 3 and 4, do we have any supplementary angles with what's listed? We actually don't, because if 2 is congruent to 4, 4 and 3 are congruent because they are vertical, as are 1 and 2. So all those 4 match. The supplementary angles are going to be these ones, but they didn't have numbers, so we can't really list them, right? So technically on this picture, we have none that are labeled. There are supplementary angles there. They're not labeled. What lines are going to be parallel? Well, again, this goes to that idea from that paper we just graded that if those angle relationships exist, it means the lines are parallel. So going back to the original of 2 and 4 being congruent, those are corresponding angles, but a little more obviously that makes line, there we go, L and M. That's the letter L, not the number 1. That makes it look more like 1. Okay, I mean, it's obviously these two lines that are parallel to. It's not a trick question there. What angles are congruent? Well, we just talked about that a second ago. Not only 2 and 4, because it tells you that, but also 3, and 1. All four of, what the heck? Technology, it makes life easier. And angle 1. All four of those are congruent in that picture. In the figure below, if M is parallel to N, what is the value of X? Okay, so what you want to look at here, and we did this on one of the other papers we did. Oh, awesome. Guess I'll use red. So these are clearly our parallel lines. At the moment, I just want to look at this transversal here. So that means you have 40. Let me change that. You have 40 here, which as an alternate interior angle is going to give you 40 there. So if you look at this line, you have 27, 40, and X. It's not a linear pair because there's 3 angles here, but it's still a straight line. What should they do together? What does a straight line equal as an angle? What is it? 180. So since we know 40 is here and 27 here, X has to make that add up to 180. So really, if you don't like the algebra look of it, just add 40 and 27 and subtract it from 180. Oh, not 4, sorry. Which is 113. Everybody good with that one? Can I move on? All right. In the figure below, angle 3 is 135 and 6 is 45. So let me make this a little bit bigger here for a second. 3 is 135 and 6 is, what did it say? 45, yeah. What angles are alternate interior angles? Are the 2 angles that they gave us alternate interior? 3 and 6? Alternate interior? Those 3 and 6 are what? Same side interior. So the alternate interior, first of all, would be angles 4 and 6, 3 and 5. Are alternate interior congruent or supplementary? Congruent. What angles are corresponding? There's 4 pairs here, so you gotta list all of them. If we start with 1, what corresponds with 1? Ooh, careful, it's actually 5. What corresponds with 2? There you go. What corresponds with 4? And what corresponds with 3? Corresponding angles congruent or supplementary? Got to know these guys. You need to make sure you know what's what and what's congruent or supplementary. Corresponding and both alternate interior and exterior are congruent. Okay. What angles are consecutive interior? So first of all, remember that consecutive interior, or consecutive at least, means same side. Yeah. So same side interior, the two they gave us, back to those, 3 and 6, and then 4 and 5. Come on, change colors. And then this should tell you, from what they gave you in the problem, even if you don't remember, are those congruent or supplementary? Yeah, supplementary, because they add up to 180. All right, the corresponding angle conjecture states that if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then corresponding angles are congruent. That's just what you wrote yesterday, the first part. Two parallel lines cut by a transversal, corresponding angles are congruent. The picture below shows this relationship. What are the corresponding angles? So, again, they're just asking you to match up the right ones, and they're probably the same as you wrote above. 1 and 5. And guys, there is a little bit of repetition here, but we're also trying to make sure you understand how important it is that you can identify these different angle relationships. So it's 1 and 5 again, 2 and 6, 4 and 8. Now, also one last thing. Don't assume that means it's always these pairs that have these numbers that match up. It's just those two pictures were numbered the same. But again, corresponding means same position. One way it also usually winds up is they're same side, but one's interior, one's exterior, right? Like 5 and 1 are on the same side, but one's exterior, 5's interior. If you look at 2 and 6, same side, but 2's exterior, 6 is interior. And it just keeps going for all of them. All the way down, right? All right, that is page number 1. That's the front page. Any questions on that? All right. All right, guys. So it turns out that even though we went over this in class, I actually forgot to hit record. And so while y'all saw everything that got drawn, it didn't get recorded to add to the video. So I'm having to do this again real quick without y'all in the room, but it's okay because it'll be a review again. So number 7 in the figure below, M is parallel to N. Find the value of X and the value of the angle labeled 4X. These two angles are alternate interior angles. There we go. And alternate interior angles are congruent. So you're going to set up 4x equals 80 because that's what congruent means. You set the two things equal to each other. Now technically you do have the answer for this part of the question. Normally when the algebra is a little more complicated, like 5x minus 23 equals 2x minus 7, then you have to plug in to get that whole equation. Here it's a little bit simpler, so it just happens to work out easier. Algebraically, to solve this is really easy because you're just going to divide by 4 and x equals 20. So the 4x is 80 degrees. So even if you didn't realize that, once you get x is 20, you do 4 times 20, you get the 80 again. So it works out either way. 8, what is the value of the variable x and the 2x? So these two are not congruent because, first of all, they are same side, interior. And that means you need to add them and set them equal to 180, because that's what they're supplementary. I guess I should have said first. So here, you subtract the 160 from both sides. You get 2x equals 20. Again, you technically get the answer for this part of it. Divide by 2, x equals 10. And there's the x. And even if you didn't get that originally, 10 times 2 gives you the 20 either way. So, and then I didn't realize those were misnumbered. What's number 10, but technically the 9th question. Using the diagram below, find one pair of each of the following. So we'll just label all the pairs. Alternate interior is 5 and 3. And then 6 and 4. Okay, opposite sides of the transversal inside the two lines. Consecutive or same side exterior. So on the outside we have 1 and 7, 2 and 8. Right here and here, here and here. And then corresponding, there's going to be 4 pairs on this one, because every angle corresponds with another. So 1 and 4, 2 and 3, 5 and 7, 6 and 8. Okay? So there you go. There's the back page. It was a pretty simple thing. Go over this, look at your notes. You'll definitely be able to use your notebook tomorrow. I have to double check about the review, but you'll know by class. So either way, go over the stuff in your notebook. We will be collecting phones. Good luck, and we'll see you at the test.